I'm seeing my Debbie Gibson. I gotta close this.
Okay. I was trying a different way to do the intro this week, and so far I'm failing. This week on the Mac to the Future Go livecast, we have stupid Facebook tricks. We have everyone loves the HomePod, except for those who don't. macOS 10.14 to run iOS apps and other stuff, all tonight on the Mac to the Future Go livecast. Yeah. Unbelievable.
Don't touch anything.
Yeah. No. I'm good. Okay.
We're just testing stuff. Hands up.
No, I wasn't testing anything. It was all of a sudden OBS just crashed like a rock. Welcome, everyone, to the Mac to the Future livecast, at least for right now, because apparently at any given time, OBS is going to crash on me. This is like just not good. But the weird thing is I'm looking at all the spec. Now I know, I go on and on and on and on about OBS and, why it's given me so much trouble and that I need a new computer and all the rest of that. And I know you guys are sick of hearing it. But this is just outrageous. And now, CPU usage, this is the lowest CPU usage has been since I started doing this. 15%. 15%. And I have very little in the way of delay as far as audio goes. Everything is looking great. And then just as I'm coming out of the opening bit, OBS crashes. And I don't know. It's so frustrating. But none of you care. Nobody cares. So I'm just going to skip right past it. It's that kind of day. Of course, like always, I was going to say I have Warren Sklar, but he is not showing up. So,
What?
You're not showing up here. I'm going to find you.
OBS.
I've got to find you. No, this isn't OBS. There you are.
Stands for Odd Broadcasting Software.
There you are.
We're only get something else. Broadcasting software.
It's killing me tonight. It really, really is.
Phone crash. On blue. Audio lag. There I am. Okay. All right. Don't touch nothing.
Yeah. I'll have to adjust the Skype window some other night. But Warren is finally on. We have audio from him. We have audio from me. I don't know. That just I don't even want to talk about it right now.
Supposedly we have lag, so be sure to speak and then wait and then move your mouth in sync with what you just said. So
okay. Well,
that'll fix it.
I can't worry about it.
Nah.
There's nothing I can do. This is the kind of stuff that just makes me crazy.
Everybody just imagine we're in sync and we'll be good.
Imagine that we're in sync. It was working a little while ago. I swear to freaking God. All right.
It's good. All right.
Couple things to talk about tonight, Warren.
Okay.
I don't know if you've been keeping up with this, but apparently there's a story in Gizmodo that says that there's a study that backs up the creeping feeling that Facebook is just for old people now. Just for old people. And that the younger generation, youngsters, are abandoning Facebook because there's so many old people on it. So talk about being a victim of your own success.
Yep. That's I got a 14-year-old. I could tell you all about this.
Yeah. So. Facebook has on order 1.5 billion daily users as compared to something like Snapchat, which has somewhere in the neighborhood of 200 million users. But then things get a little weird. Now, according to some demographics, Facebook is losing subscribers to rival services like Snapchat and some of the others. And there are three main groups. There's the under 11s, the 12 to 17-year-olds, and the 18 to 24-year-olds. They've actually had their numbers reduced on Facebook recently, and many are saying it's because their parents and other older adults are also now on the service. So they're not using it because they don't want their parents and or teachers and other oldsters seeing their daily statuses. So you have a young daughter, a young son?
Son,
okay.
14-year-old.
And what does he think about Facebook, or is it pretty much the same thing?
It's the same thing. He doesn't have an account. They do Snapchat, so that's what he does. He doesn't want to be on Facebook, so I've asked him, and he doesn't want to do it, which is fine. Snapchat, the idea behind Snapchat, is something we don't really like as adults, right? Because it's something that it seems to get the kids in trouble a little bit more than Facebook did, because they think the pictures are they don't talk with words anymore. They just talk with pictures. They'll make a smiley face or a sad face, and they'll make a face, and that's how they talk. So there's no, that's what they're doing. But obviously there was some issues with Snapchat where they were Snapchatting wrong parts of their body and stuff like that.
That can't be good.
No, but that was definitely definitely going on.
Anyone who is watching this, remember that before you take pictures of your junk and send it across to somebody else on the internet, once it's on the internet forever.
Yep.
Forever.
So they learned that. And if you remember, before Snapchat, like, it was millennials. It was like the people going for jobs that were having a problem, because if you remember, the whole thing with the bosses would see your statuses,
your Facebook status, right?
And your pictures, and they're like, I'm not hiring Johnny because here he is at a kegger, puking on people, and that's what they don't like. So we did that. We convinced a generation, I think, that Facebook is too much sharing, and it's going to ruin things in their life. So they went to something that not a lot of people use, and it's more in their mind of a temporary thought than a diary.
Except it's not.
It's not. I mean, Snapchat keeps trying to. It's weird. Like, they'll say that you can take a picture, but you can always take a picture. If it's not online, you could take a picture. I mean, nothing's stopping you from taking a picture of the phone with another phone or whatever. But eventually they'll get off that and they'll go on to something else. Kids don't want to be on whatever their parents are doing, and it was the same with us when we were young. And
except we didn't have chat services. We actually had to go out and do something really nuts, like talk to people and spend time outside in social situations. I know that just sounds crazy, but that's what we actually used to do. And and the whole thing about Snapchat is it wasn't that long ago. I mean, and I'm talking weeks, if not days. Snapchat apparently made some huge change to their user interface.
Yeah.
And
petitions and stuff like that.
Yeah. But from what I was reading, basically what Snapchat is trying to do is make themselves more open to a broader audience than as far as Facebook is, in comparison, to get the old people to come in, because, like it or not, all of these services, Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, all these free services, they're not free. This is the Google argument all over again. They're using the information that you are supplying to them, and Facebook is just as guilty to sell your information, your demographics, to advertisers, because advertisers are basically their real clients. You're not their customers. None of us are Facebook's customers. We're the product. And as long as you go, and we've talked about this before, as long as you go into this with your eyes open and that you understand this and you're okay with all of these services, knowing as much as they know about you, and they know a ton of stuff about you. And it doesn't matter if you delete your account. It doesn't matter if you take off that tweet or that post or whatever it is that embarrassed you. It's still going to be there somewhere. Somewhere, someone has access to it.
Right. I mean, it's that, or we pay for it.
Yeah.
With money.
With real money. But so many people don't want to do that. It's been tried. It's been tried a couple times.
I don't think anybody
these services
would.
have failed.
Yeah, and they still will, because people don't want to spend money on something that is really not needed.
They can get otherwise for free.
Well, even
free isn't, not as in free as in beer, but it there's no monetary charge for them to use these services.
Let's pretend let's Snapchat and Facebook and all the services out there started ditched their model and went to just monetary money.
Right.
They would all fail, because people are cheap, and unless there was a compelling reason to stay on them, I don't think people would. Don't you think that with something like Facebook with over 1 billion users, that it could be self-sustaining, because so many people have so much of their lives connected through these services, that if there was suddenly a charge of, let's say, $1 a month, $2 a month, which it isn't going to kill you, and and depending on how you do it, if Facebook basically came out and said, okay, we're going to charge you $20 for the entire year of using our service with all of the same stuff that you've had before, but we're going to give you, much more control over what happens with the information that you give us, and make it easy for you to have control. Because right now, they make a big deal out of putting some of these controls in, but for the most part, it's hidden within layer upon layer of menus, and nobody short of a computer engineer is going to be able to go in, find it, and understand what all these settings mean. And then, even if you do figure that out, they'll turn around within a month or two, change the way these settings look, change the information that is used by these settings, so that you have to go back in and do it all over again. Yeah, I mean, A, I don't think people would believe them if they did that. B, I don't think people would do it. I just don't. I think people rather sell their information rather than give money. And, I'm in that boat too. I rather, people are concerned about what information is going out. I'm 46 years old. I'll be dead by the time something comes back to haunt me, I would hope.
Oh, yay. Let's talk about that. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I'm going to be 58 this year, he said, nodding his head.
So what are you going to worry about? Yeah. I mean,
no,
by the time Google, Facebook's going to come back to you and, hey guy, remember what you did to when you're like 80 years old? Who cares? Really.
Yeah. Well, I'll if I can eat my oatmeal without drooling on myself, it'll be a good day.
And then old people be using
25
Facebook.
Years. Yeah.
The funny thing is, with the adults using Facebook, just a quick thing is, how many people have their parents on? Like even people my age have my parents on Facebook, or at least my mother's on it. And it's horrible. People don't want that. I'll post something like, oh, I can't believe the Eagles won the Super Bowl. And everybody's commenting. And then my mom will say, well, Dad's phone's not working. Can you can you come over? Like, they don't know how to use it, So like, it's like, oh man, now people can see that and realize that my mother's an idiot and she doesn't know how to, like, call me or text me.
Well, hopefully
and
she's not going to watch this live cast.
I'm pretty sure she's not going to watch this live.
Well then it all works out.
But yeah, so kids are going to gravitate to whatever dad's not on.
The thing that makes me crazy is that even when something happens that they're not happy about, like the UI change in Snapchat, they're just as entrenched with these services as the people that they supposedly left other services for to use Snapchat. Like, for example, when this UI change happened, there was quite a few people in Snapchat that were talking about, well, they started these petitions and got tens of thousands of people to sign up. But petitions mean nothing if you aren't the customer, and you are not the customer when it comes to Snapchat. And so the only thing that really works in a case like that is to try to organize like a boycott and say, okay, we're going to get 50 to 100,000 people, some large significant number, to boycott Snapchat for a week. But there's a problem, because you've got these stupid little things that they use to get their hooks in you. And what was it? It wasn't even a couple of years ago with Facebook. It was Farmville. It was like, well, if I'm not on Facebook every day, my farm is going to die. It's like, what?
I remember that.
It's not real. None of it's real. Yeah. In the case of Snapchat, what I was finding in these stories in the comments was that they don't want to do these boycotts because they'll lose their streaks. Do you know what the streaks are? What these streaks are?
No idea. Yeah.
They're this thing where if you visit every single day and do something, doesn't matter what it is, you just do something, you get a little running total of how many days in a row you did something. And they call these streaks. And there are people who have these streaks that go over 1,000 days. Like, we're talking 3 years. Every single day going on to Snapchat and doing something just to keep this streak alive. This one girl was saying, oh yeah, boy, I almost got in trouble at school because I had to do something in order to keep my streak going. And it's like, you've got to be kidding me. Are you saying that the only time that you can use something like Snapchat is when you're at school? You couldn't do it when you got home, or you couldn't do it at lunchtime?
You're missing a point.
I would love to know what the point is.
The point is Snapchat got tweens to organize themselves and maybe petition and to actually move out of their bed. So, good for them.
But it didn't work.
Well, they're sort of, trying to get out.
They don't want to lose their streaks.
Yeah, that's good. So, like, they're still moving. They're still alive. It gets the kids out of the house. Or doing something. It's like Pokemon, but different. And, Snapchat's done stupid things a lot. And the one before this was, and I think they changed it, but they had a geolocation thing where you could pretty much always know where everybody was.
Yeah.
And all the parents were like, oh my God. Turn it on. Like, it made the news. And, people as an IT guy, people were calling me. It's like, Warren, my son uses Snapchat. What do I do? I'm like, because they're saying on the news that people are able to track you. And I saw my son using it, and yeah, it's that's what it is. I mean, you go in there and you actually saw where everybody was. And I think they changed it to seeing where everybody is to kind of where everybody was. And it got a little bit less creepy in that way. But, Snapchat's definitely doing things like that where, they're trying to push the line. And I don't know what this UI change is, but my son said he didn't like it. So
yeah, well, apparently at one point you could swipe and you could see what all of your friends was doing. Now you do that same motion, and instead of seeing what all your friends are doing, you're seeing, news and celebrities and, things along those lines, which kind of leads me to believe that what Snapchat is trying to do is to attract an older audience, because while I'm sure it's wonderful to have under 11s and, teenagers and young adults using the service in the way that they are, to put it to a fine point, they're not the ones with the money. They don't have any money. They're going to school. They're doing very little in the way of earning money because they're not at the point where they can. It's people in their 30s, 40s, and 50s that are in their prime earning years that services like this and advertising agencies, again, which are the real customers of these services. And, I hope I'm not sounding too paranoid, but this is the reality of what these services are for, is to sell your information to these other companies so that they can try to sell you stuff. So
maybe
why,
it's stuff we need. Who knows?
Well,
maybe
yeah,
it's stuff we
Tide
need.
Pods, because, I don't have enough challenge in my life.
All right. I don't know.
Okay.
Until something really bad happens to me from using Facebook,
yeah,
then I'm going to ride it out. I'll ride the storm and see what happens.
Oh, I went for the first time going complete. We're going to take a break in just a second, but I don't even know why I'm bringing this up. For the first time in probably 10 to 15 years, I got together with some guys at work, and I went bowling. I swear to God, it was like a Flintstones moment. Getting together with the guys at work. All right, come on, Bonnie, let's go bowling. So, yeah, and I had a blast. As it turns out, I'm a really awful bowler, especially considering that I haven't done it in 10 years or more. And I'm watching these other guys bowl, and they've been doing this, going every Tuesday night for the last couple of years. And they've all got the thing where they throw the ball and it does that curve to the left, or if they're left-handed, that curve to the right to try to get it right into the groove. I'm like a straight-on bowler. I take the ball and I just fling it as hard and as fast as I can in some semblance of control down the lane, and hope that momentum and just the sheer force of this 16-pound ball hitting these pins is going to make them go flying all over the place, is going to do something wonderful. And based on my experiences last night, something wonderful did not happen. But I did manage, all 3 games that I played, I did manage to get over 100. So there is that, but not much over 100. But it was fun, and I'm probably going to keep doing it. I don't even know why I brought it up, but I just thought that was fun and exciting. Bowling.
I'm shocked you haven't bowled in that long. I mean, my family, we bowl probably not a lot, but 4 times a year maybe, if that.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, when I was, and not so much because neither one of my kids showed much interest in bowling, but when I was like in my teens and 20s and even probably into my 30s before I started traveling, I used to go bowling. I would have a great time with it. The only problem I really had was finding shoes that would fit me because I have very large feet. But most of the places these days, I guess just because people are getting bigger, they make sure that they have larger sizes. Like the place we went to last night, they had up to size 18 and a half. And I was like, well, guess you got me covered at 16s, and that's, honestly, that's pretty big. I thought my feet were big at 16s.
All right, I'm going to move you off the bowling topic. People are
okay.
Like, what?
Yeah, let's.
I thought this was an Apple show.
But you see, a bowling ball, if you look at it in a certain way, kind of looks like an apple.
It's got
not.
holes. It got holes in it. Johnny Ive will not like the holes in the bowling ball.
Yeah.
He hates the holes.
So what do you have, like virtual bowling? Anyway. All right, we're gonna take a little break, guys. And
sounds like a plan.
When we come back, we're gonna talk about the HomePod, and we're gonna talk about the next version of the macOS. So stand by. We'll be right back.
This is Private Eye Macintosh, and I'm here to tell you about a book written about me and my search for the Maltese Cube. Yes, it's a fine book. I think you should get it. Quiet, you. It combines technology, Mac trivia, action, murder, suspense. Oh, just tell them where to get it. I'll get to that. Romance, film noir detective fiction. I can't stand it anymore. It's called The Maltese Cube, and it was written by my Mac writer and podcaster Guy Searle. Find it on Amazon. It's only $2.99 and coming soon to the Apple's iBook store. Don't forget, it's The Maltese Cube and so inexpensive. You know you're not in it, right? I'm in the next one, right? Sure thing, Louis. You know, this could be the start of a beautiful friendship. Get The Maltese Cube on Amazon and soon in the iBook store.
I don't know what else to do. Anyway, I don't want to. I went over that rant when we first started, so I'm not going to get back into it again. Hey, Juan Salazar, how you doing, Juan? Boy, I haven't seen Juan since the 70s. The 70s, way back then when the 70s was a thing. Anyway, what was it? Last Tuesday? Was it last Tuesday the HomePod was released, or was it before then? Last Friday, week ago Friday.
People are saying I'm drifting on the screen. I don't know what they're saying, but whatever.
Oh, I see what's going on. I'll move you there.
Okay.
There, he's back.
I'm back.
Actually, you're not. I still need to make a little adjustment here. Well, no, I mean, you're there on the screen, but after the program crashed.
I'm going like this.
Yeah, after the program crashed, it resized your screen again, so I had to resize it. Oh, my.
That's pretty cool. I haven't seen
that. That's like a cool effect. So, whenever the HomePod came out.
Yes.
Now, Audiophiles say that it sounds great, except for those who don't like digital music. Yep. They say it lacks stereo separation, except for those who say it doesn't matter. Consumer Reports likes competing products better.
Yep.
And the rest of the tech press is pretty much divided between love and hate, saying it's a waste of time and money. Also that it'll get better, promising first attempt and broken out of the gate. iFixit says it's the least repairable Apple device ever made, but then also turns around and says it's built like a tank. So that everybody seems to be like all over with this device.
People are trying to, it's a speaker, but people are trying to overanalyze it a lot.
Well, yeah, but whose fault is that? That's Apple's fault. They built up the expectations for this device like crazy when they first announced it. It was going to be the greatest thing since scrambled eggs. And
they do that with anything.
Oh, come on. They came out and they were talking about not only was it a great speaker, but it was going to be this great smart device, and Siri was just going to be wonderful. And they had all these examples of how you could use it. And then they released the product, and you can't buy two of them because you can buy two of them, but you can't get them to work in concert with one another. Siri, unless it's like certain almost pre-built commands and requests, doesn't really work that well. It doesn't work as well as competing devices from Amazon or Google.
Yeah.
It sounds great. Not as good as a Sonos, which is like half the cost. For basically the same price that you'd pay for a HomePod, you can get two Sonos Ones, and they'll work together in concert. AirPlay doesn't work that well. No, I mean, there's a lot of the things that they said the HomePod was going to be able to do just didn't happen. And go ahead.
And there's some workarounds. There's things that you can do.
We got Steve Sheridan. Hey, Steve.
Yeah, who's Steve? Cletus wants to know if you have one. You don't have one. I'm taking it. Right.
No. I didn't have an Apple Watch either when it first came out.
I just happen to have one right here.
Of course you do.
Yeah. And it's good. I mean, it's does the AirPlay right. It sounds good. AirPlaying from the computer, from a Mac to the speaker works fine. AirPlaying from the iPhone to the speaker works fine. AirPlaying from the Apple TV to the speaker works well. It does everything right now that I wanted to do. Siri is Siri. It doesn't. It has some issues. Sometimes, like, it goes off for no reason. Sometimes when I tell it to do something, it reads me like a sentence about things I didn't ask for. It has issues, but it's gonna get there. I was in the camp of not wanting one at some point, and I caved in.
Why?
And got it.
Why did you cave in and get one?
So what happened? My wife and my family and I, with my wife, went to we were going to a mall last weekend on Saturday that had an Apple store.
Right.
And I'm in my head, I'm like, yeah, I kind of want it. And we usually split up. You know, she does her clothes shopping, and I
hang out at the Apple store.
I go to the Apple store, and my son goes his own way. So I'm like, you know what? They have a 14-day return policy.
Sure.
If I could buy it before telling her, and then bring it with me,
see how it does,
I could tell her that, you know, if we really don't like it, we'll take it back. Yes, King of Prussia.
You got 14 days.
So right. So, but before that, I think we were having lunch. We're having lunch, and she must have been in some kind of good mood. And she said, "I'll tell you what, you can have it if you get rid of the subwoofer. That's part of my sound bar," because she hates it because it's huge in our living room. And I said, "Okay, yeah, I could deal. I don't watch that much TV anyway, so I don't care." So that was the compromise, and
the great compromise of 018.
Of 018. So I went to the Apple.
18.
I went to the Apple store, and they had plenty of them. I bought it without even seeing it, and then I played with it. The funny thing is, the subwoofer I think has to stay anyways. I unplugged it, and the TV just sounds stupid without it. So I got to figure out some.
We ended up. You know, I don't have a sound bar or anything like that. We had a neighbor. Now, I don't remember the exact sequence of events, but we had a neighbor that was throwing out these tremendous speakers. I mean, these speakers are probably 4 feet tall and with friggin' woofer this big on the bottom of this all heavy wood cabinet. Why they were throwing them out, I had no idea. But my wife was like, "You've got the Flex. You got the Ford Flex with that great big back seat. Go on over and get those speakers." It was like, what am I getting this for? What am I getting these huge ass speakers for? I don't want to see them go to waste. It's going to rain later today and they'll be ruined. You have to go get them. So it's like, you know, she who must be obeyed. So I get in the car.
But always she's telling you to get them. I mean,
yeah. And I go... I get these huge ass speakers and bring them back to the house, and they sat in the house for probably a couple of months, and I had no idea what I was going to use them for. On the TV set that we had in the family room, I had these Baby Bose Advent 2s from like the 80s when I first bought them that we were using with the TV set, and I think I had bought a new TV. I'd finally gotten rid of this crappy Samsung that power supply. You know, I don't even want to get into that story. It was a crappy TV from Samsung, so I got rid of that, and I got this new one, 55-inch HD. It wasn't 4K. Didn't care, and set that up downstairs. And it was like, well, you know what? I've got this separate receiver that I had routed the TV sound through. I said, let me plug these new speakers in, or not new, but these big ass speakers that I had, and they sounded great. It's like, okay, you know, other than the fact that they take up half the room, yeah, I'll just go ahead and use these. And so I did, but the I guess the point of all this, and there usually has to be a point of some kind, is that we don't listen to that much music, any of us, either my wife or myself, or Guy, who's been living with us for a few months, listen to that much music out loud. Almost everything that we listen to is through headphones.
So I got a thought on that. If you go through the evolution of whole home audio,
right?
You go back to my parents, and I could vividly remember my dad had, through the years they changed a little bit, but for the most part, big, huge tower speakers and different
pushing
kinds.
Lots of air.
And a phonograph and records, and that was the whole house audio. He would sit there and play his records, and that's what we all kind of listened to because we had to, or we went downstairs where we couldn't hear it. Then
it's not better to be single, Brian.
Yeah, no, Brian hates marriage, and I don't even I've
been married for 25 years. I love marriage. I'm okay with it.
Brian hates marriage. Ty hates Google. Life is going to spin.
Yeah.
Anyhow, so anyways, that was that. Then we get into we get into a couple years back, and the thing was, people were building houses with the speakers in the walls. Do you remember all that and running?
Yeah.
So now you go to those kind of houses and the speaker grills are kind of hanging off. Nobody uses them anymore because nobody uses that anymore.
Right. Well, in our house, the house that I'm living in now, they had a intercom system that we've never used since 1997.
Right. So this is just the evolution of how things go. So then, portables, then it just all went portable, and portable speakers and portable headphones. And now at that point, up until recently, everybody who listens to music has their own headphones on. They're not listening to each other's music. They got their own, whether it was from a Walkman. As soon as the Walkman came out, that kind of started it. So everybody was kind of listening to their own thing. So now we're trying to move back into this whole house system, and it's getting a little bit smarter. And you could either get a Sonos or one of these whole house systems, and now HomePod's going to hopefully be like that, or you're just going to have a bunch of Bluetooth speakers in the house, and there's there'll be something else in a couple of years. It's going to be different to get music throughout the house, but this is what it is now. And the reality is, having music pumping through the house isn't really that great of a thing anymore. It's we have nobody's on the same page anymore. It's not like back where back in the 70s and 80s where we're all just sitting there listening to records. It just doesn't happen like that anymore. So we'll see where. I don't think it's going to survive. I think it's going to go back to just pumping whatever we want to hear into our heads, rather than throughout the air, because people don't want to hear each other's stuff anymore.
Well, teenagers being teenagers, if they're not on Snapchat, still like to have their music loud. And
yeah, but they have headphones, they have Beats.
Yeah, but I know I had headphones as a teenager, but there's always something about having your music just bouncing off the walls. And
not anymore.
Yeah, well, it's certainly it's not anything I particularly like to do anymore.
No, but the kids don't want to do it either.
A lot of the things that I've complained about as far as the HomePod goes is fixable in software. I think Apple's original plans for the HomePod were very, very ambitious. And they probably would have been better off if they hadn't announced it at all, hadn't shown it at all. And I'm not even really sure why they did, since it wasn't like, with phones and with tablets and with computers, you want to announce some of that stuff relatively early so that you can get developers on board to create reasons for people to go out and buy it. But in the case of the HomePod, there's really no add-in for the HomePod. You have to have an iOS device. You pretty much have to have Apple Music to use it to its best extent. So there's really no add-in other than the speaker itself. Now, having something like this makes you more likely to buy into a lot of Apple services, which is making them a lot of money. But I don't think the speaker itself is really the end game.
Do you remember if the AirPods were they announced? I don't remember if the AirPods were announced or they just came out.
They were talked about. I think weren't they talked about at, it was either WWDC or the September event when they were talking about new phones that would be coming out soon. I think AirPods were announced in that way, at the same time, but it was a while even after they were announced before they actually did come out.
I don't remember the fanfare around it. I can't remember the announcement. But the AirPods are a good example of, they said it was, let's see, two months before release. The AirPods are kind of it was a finished product that they didn't make a huge deal out of that did well. And it took people some time to realize that they're good. But
it's not that different from what happened with the watches. I mean, for 2 years, all we heard about was, so many other people's watches. Oh, it's so much better than the Apple Watch. It's so much better than this. It's so much better than that. But then when you turn around, a lot like Android tablets, people bought these cheap, wearables and then used them for a short period of time and then threw them in a drawer. And this was the same thing that happened with Android tablets. People say, oh, look at that. I can play a game. I can watch a movie. And what else can I do with this? I can play games and watch movies. Okay, well, into the drawer it goes, and you never saw it anymore. And it wasn't, some companies that had their entire ecosystem built around wearables are no longer around because it was pretty much a one-trick pony.
So, right. So speakers and headphones are probably not going to be wiped out by the HomePod and AirPods.
No. So, I'm willing to not rush to judgment and say that the AirPod is total crap and it's doomed to failure and all the rest of that, because I honestly have no idea. It could become so much better, and even people that bought the very first one, such as yourself, a lot of the things that it has problems with can be fixed with software updates, and I'm sure it will.
It's very mental. People who convince themselves they're not going to buy a product, be it Apple or not, are going to convince themselves the reasons of why they're not going to buy it.
Sure.
And then once they buy it, they got to convince themselves of why they bought it. So
or
when you
why
see
it
the review,
sucks or whatever.
Why, right. But generally with Apple products don't generally suck to the point where you kind of regret buying them. Very few people
in the first
do.
place.
Because they do what they for the most part, they do what they're supposed to do.
Right.
They work. So they work. Like that's the point. I bought technology that I didn't like because it didn't do what it's advertising to do at all. Like it doesn't do it. But the HomePod works. It plays music, and that's what I knew it was going to do. So your expectation is there. So after you buy it, you realize that, it does what it wants to do, and now you're going to convince people that you made the right decision by spending $350 on a speaker, and that's where your reviews are going to go. So when you look at people's opinions, and that's why these reviews are just all over the place.
Sure.
A lot. You can have people who you can have audiophiles up and down the place because they need to justify why they spent $15,000 on something that maybe could be the same for that $350, but it's probably not. And people who talk it up are going to be the ones who bought one and wants to tell the world that they bought one and they made a good decision. But it's the same for all Apple products. It was the same when the watch. The iPhone X or 10 is a huge example of that. The people who bought that, because everybody who didn't buy one said, "I'm not going to buy one. It's stupid. It's ugly. I don't need it." Blah blah blah. And then they'll buy one, or the people who do buy one are like, "It's the greatest thing ever. It does everything I want it to do." So I mean, it's just psychology. At the end of the day, Audiophiles, their reviews get me nauseous. I don't listen to anything like that because those people scare me, to be honest with you. But the speaker sounds good. I mean, it's I think I said in the I said in the Facebook group, if I put my HomePod here and I have a Ohm or a Bose, or it's this big circle speaker or Bluetooth upstairs. If I put, and it was like $80. If I put that on one side of the table and this on the other side and close my eyes, I wouldn't tell you which is which.
Okay.
But they both sound decent.
All right. Last thing for the evening. According to Bloomberg, macOS 10.14 is going to run iOS apps and other stuff. Now, Bloomberg says that Apple will slow down releasing new features on the Mac and iOS to try to stop some of the bug problems that have been happening with the last few versions. Even bigger news is that the next version may also allow iOS apps to run on the Mac natively with a common code base. Now, before anyone gets too excited and starts thinking about, all the Mac apps that they have that they think is now going to run... Excuse me. Oh, Mexican food makes me sleepy. It's now going to run on iOS. That's not going to happen.
That should be the show name. Go ahead. Sorry.
What, Mexican food makes me sleepy?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. You're not going to be able to run Call of Duty Black Ops on your phone or in a tablet. Remember that these apps would have to be ported to work on ARM processors, and that the individual companies would have to recode their software in order to do so. And I don't see big companies, at least not yet, porting their major major applications so that it will run in some reduced mode in iOS. Now, if you have take something like this, OBS, which is super CPU intensive, you're not going to easily be able to run that on an ARM processor in the same way that it would run on a 4-core or more Macintosh with more memory than God has. Without there being some major sacrifices. You can't get blood from a stone. You can't get Intel x86 power from a single ARM processor. So can you think of apps that you have on the Mac or that you have in your iPhone or iPad or iPhone that you would like to see on the Mac?
Well, you have them both ways, right? You could
not necessarily both ways. You should, right now, I think it's what we're going to see, especially in the beginning, is going to be iOS apps that will run on your Mac more than Mac apps that are going to run in iOS.
Mexican food makes you sleepy.
I'm sleepy.
No, I can't. I mean, I thought about it. I can't think of many things that I would really want to do on my Mac that I do from my iPhone or iPad. The iPhone, the things I do on my iPhone are built for the iPhone.
Mobile-centric apps.
Yeah. There's a game I play on my iPhone. It's a numbers puzzle game. It's just one of the games that I'll just sit. I could sit on the couch and play for 3 hours. Just because I do. They have an app. They have a Mac version of it, and I don't play it at all because it's, you got to use the keyboard, and it's not good. It's not built for it. So I don't.
So it works best with like a touch screen.
Even with a touch screen, I don't think the game would be good on a big laptop screen. It works good having a phone in one hand and using my thumb to play around with it. That's how it works good. So the concept is the Chromebooks are the example, right? The Chromebooks started to allow Android apps to be run on the Chromebooks.
Well, there's nothing new about that.
Oh,
I mean, do you know what this is right here?
Yeah, you told me that. That's the thing.
This is the Jide Remix. This is a total computer right here. You can see it's got an Ethernet port. It's got a couple of USB ports. It's got an HDMI out over here, and it's got a audio out.
Yeah.
And I can run Microsoft Office on this, the mobile versions, and it's a desktop experience and all the rest of it. And it was like $60. Now,
right, but the Chromebooks were not doing that. The Chromebooks were only running Chrome.
Yeah.
And the problem, then they introduced the Android Google Play Store to it. Now it does a lot more because Chrome didn't do much. The Mac's different because the Macs can do mostly everything an iOS device could do without doing that. So I don't think there's going to be a big push to merge the two together.
Well, I just wonder if this is yet another step in the direction of having a device that you can take with you anywhere, plug into something, and then have a desktop experience. And it doesn't matter, whether your apps are geared toward a mobile experience or whether your apps are geared toward a desktop experience. They'll scale up or scale down depending on what it is or how it is that you're viewing the app.
I don't know. We talked about it before, and whether Apple wants to consolidate their devices into fewer devices, it's all going to come down to money. And if they're selling a lot of MacBooks and if they're selling iOS devices, then they're going to continue to do that.
Yeah. Okay.
So we'll see. But yeah, I kind of, after in the article you link, it says Bloomberg says that's pretty much all. That's pretty much all you need
to know right there. Okay.
Yeah, because their track record is
not great
either. So.
All right. Well, Warren.
It'd be cool. Yeah.
If I'm guessing if people wanted to get a hold of you, what would be like the most amazing way that they could do so?
Snapchat. Just snap me a picture of your junk, and I'll get right back to you.
No, please don't do that.
I do have a Snapchat account. I don't know what it is. I don't know how to use it.
I do not. But
I did.
If if that's how everyone is going to treat me by taking pictures of their junk and sending it to me, I'm not going anywhere near Snapchat. Sorry, I don't need to see that.
I had to get one to babysit to watch my son on that. So,
well, if you Facebook, would, just on Facebook.
Facebook, you get me. How about you?
If people wanted to get hold of me, you can contact me via email. Guy at almost said mymac mttfgo.com. Guy at mttfgo.com. You can reach me on the Twitters. I am Mac Parrot there. We have a Skype telephone number that I'm kind of dual purposing the Skype telephone number. It's in the United States, area code 703-436-9501. And thank you, Warren, for coming on yet again and putting up with all of my technical buffoonery, which
not a problem. It wasn't that bad. At least I got on this week.
Yeah. And thanks to everyone who has stuck with us throughout this crazy night. We really do appreciate it. And I think that's going to do it for the night. And I think we'll see everyone next week, 8:00.
See ya.
8 p.m. Oh, you know what? I almost forgot. If you would like to meet me in person and a whole bunch of other people, all you have to do is go to the MacStock Conference and Expo, which is going to be on July 21st and 22nd in Woodstock, Illinois. That is a weekend. It's going to be a great time. There's a Saturday night party. There's the My Mac Game Show quiz. You're going to have, just so many people that you guys follow online. They're all converging and going to the MacStock Conference and Expo. Easy to get to. It's just outside of Chicago, which means no matter where you are in the world, you're almost there before you even start. It's going to be 2 days, 2 complete and full days. You don't want to miss it. This is going to be the 4th year in a row, so it's here to stay. It's the best thing next to going to the Mac World Expo, but you can't do that, so you may as well go to the MacStock Conference and Expo, July 21st and 22nd in Woodstock, Illinois.
Be there.
Be there. Be square. All right.
Good
night, everybody.
Good night.
Say good night, Warren.
Good night, Warren.
Is it going to stay up? Is it going to stay up? Is it going to crash? No.
It looks.
It stayed up.
Awesome.
For those people who weren't privy to what Warren and I were talking about while the closing credits were going, which basically is everybody. So far tonight, right after the opening credits, OBS crashed. Oh, who was that?
That was Cyndi Lauper, but I think when you touch it, hey Siri.
What was the song?
Debbie. Hold on. It was She
Got
Bop.
it. Here's the album, Debbie, by Lil Debbie.
What? No, it was She Bop by. No, that's not what I want.
You know what it is.
Hey Siri.
Tell her to
Debbie
stop.
Gibson.
Okay, here's some Debbie Gibson.
Here we go.
Just for you.
Debbie Gibson.
Just for you, Warren. Oh my God. I think I shall now be sick. How about some Zeppelin?
Hey Siri, play some Zeppelin.
Okay, here's some Led Zeppelin. Picked just for you.
Just for me.
No, Rock and Roll by Led Zeppelin.
That's good.
I'm even growing my hair out. Can you see that? Your honey drip can't keep away.
You could tap the top and it stops, I guess is what it is.
All right. Brown Sugar by the Rolling Stones.
Hey Siri, play Brown Sugar by the Rolling Stones.
Now playing Brown Sugar by the Rolling Stones.
It's like a magic 8-ball if you shake it. Yo! Hear that bass? That bass is crazy, man. It's shaking my house. So evidently this causes a ring around your furniture, and I don't know what they're
causes. Oh yeah. I was reading about that. Is the bottom of it like the sides? Like that kind of styrofoamy?
Nah,
I can't really tell. I can't really tell from here. It just looks like plastic to me.
Yeah, it's rubber. I don't even understand what they're saying. But it's squishy.
Ooh. Like a Pokemon.
The base is good. It's good base. And you could, if you have airfoil, I posted it before, but there's an app for $10.
Yeah, from Rogue Amoeba.
Yeah, it will. It's not the.
Those guys are awesome. I saw. Now I've talked. One of the things that I'm probably once I get this service as far as OBS or however I'm going to do live streaming a little more stable. Yeah. One of the things I'd like to start doing is like tutorials on some of the stuff that I do, where I could show you guys how I use GarageBand or how I use Audio Hijack Pro or Loopback or you know, Farrago or other programs not even related to audio. And OBS is a pretty good platform. Actually, for that matter, so is that Ecamm software that we tried last week.
You know what's more fun?
What's that?
I want to go to concerts and just hold this up like.
You turn it off.
Well, yeah, it's vibrating my bones.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we can call it a night here. So thanks everyone for hanging out. Whoop. Paul Kafasis. He is awesome. Paul Kafasis from Rogue Amoeba. Awesome guy. We'll see you guys next week.
Play Paul Kafagis. No, that's all right.
What?
I asked Siri to play Paul Kafagis. I thought it was an
artist. No, Kafasis.
Oh, Paul Kafasis.
I don't think.
Sorry, I couldn't find poker phagocytosis.
she couldn't find poker phagocytosis.
Huh? Really? Well, I wonder why.
I don't think she looked hard enough.
No, I'm not even sure that that's a real thing.
Hey Siri, look again.
Sorry, I can only take that request while you're listening to a song or podcast.
Okay, whatever. All right.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Dum, 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 dum.
Yeah.